Good evening. Tonight we're stepping inside a thatched cottage where the only light left flickers from the last candle wavering on a wooden shelf. Outside, winter wind murmurs through the roof's crooked slats, carrying the damp scent of oncoming snow and dry pine resin. Every sound feels softened, muted by the blanket of frost. Even a dog barking in the distance becomes just a faint echo in the dark. Here, you're wrapped in a patched wool blanket, holding a warm bowl in your hands, listening to the snap of firewood and letting the stillness settle gently around the room. You may never reach the end of this story, because the pieces you miss will be tonight's quietest lullabies. If you enjoy this space and want to join me on future nights, please like and follow. We have many more stories to share beneath the stars. And feel free to leave a comment with your location and local time. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from. Now, take a deep breath, loosen your shoulders, and let me bring you back to the 15th century. When there was no electricity, no traffic, just warmth, straw, and a long night's sleep beneath a thatched roof. The candle burns low now. You're sitting near the hearth in a thatched roof cottage so old that even the beams seem to hum with memory. The walls, rough with daub and laced with age-darkened straw, are too thin to keep out the cold completely. But inside, it's quiet, not silent, never silent, but softened. Thick wool socks muffle your steps as you move closer to the fire. And the air tastes faintly of smoke, pine resin, and boiled turnips. Somewhere in the rafters above, a mouse stirs, but even it moves gently, as if respecting the stillness. Someone adjusts the log on the fire. You hear the iron poker scrape against stone and the snap of resin in pine wood. Sparks leap, lighting up your face for just a moment. Just enough for the dog curled near your feet to lift one ear, blink, and return to his dream. The others are settling. Mare is in her corner already, rearranging the straw under her knees like a sleepy squirrel. Your father pulls a heavy fur cloak over your youngest brother. It smells like wet dog and old goat, but it's warm. It's always been warm. Your mother hums a song as she folds a scratchy wool blanket, one of the ones with a patch shaped like a chicken. You always liked that patch. It's silly, but comforting. The fire won't last the night. That's not the goal. The goal is to make it to sleep before the room loses its heat. You're already racing it. Cold air is creeping in beneath the door like an unwanted guest. You kneel beside your makeshift bedding. The straw beneath the cloth crunches slightly, releasing a smell of sun-dried grass and faint mold. Someone's dropped a boot nearby, one of the big ones, patched and repatched with leather strips. You move it without complaint. No one has their own space. Space is shared. Bodies are shared. Even dreams, sometimes, bleed into each other when sleeping this close. A historian might remind you this isn't unique, this household pattern. This communal sleep, they'd point to studies of medieval England, to records of sleeping pallets, fire pits, and floor beds. But standing here, kneeling here, you don't need a historian. You have your body. You have the shiver crawling up your spine as you tuck your feet under someone else's knees and pray they're warm enough not to notice. The candle flickers, its flame stretches, stutters, then rights itself. Wax drips slowly. Your sister shifts and mutters something in her sleep about barley porridge and chickens that can talk. You smile. It's not the first time. You blow out the candle. The world shrinks immediately. Not to darkness. That came earlier, but to sensation. The coarseness of the wool pressing against her cheek. The sharp jab of a bit of straw you didn't flatten properly. The gentle warmth of a foot. You think it's your mother's, resting lightly against your ankle. The sound of breathing, not just yours, all of theirs. 6 lungs working through the same silence. A small orchestra of life. It's strange what your mind clings to when it lets go of the day. Earlier, you carried buckets from the well, and your hands are still stiff. The taste of cabbage soup clings to your teeth. Your brother's complaint about freezing chicken water echoes in your ears. But now, the images are different, softer, shadows more than thoughts. You see the flicker of frost along the edge of the window pane, the silhouette of the drying herbs hanging near the rafters, the glint of iron in the poker leaning against the wall. This is the moment before sleep, a pause so quiet it almost hums. There is a superstition whispered among the older women in the village, that the moment before true sleep is when the soul decides whether to stay in the body or float through the firelight to listen to stories the world tells when we are not awake. You don't believe it, not exactly, but you always lie still in this moment. Just in case, you can feel the chill starting to bite at the edges of your blanket. It's inevitable, heat doesn't stay, but you're not afraid, you're not even uncomfortable, because this is how it's always been. Winter is hard, the nights are long, but you are here, with your family, wrapped in fur, wool, and straw, covered in years of routine and the gentle weight of the ones you love. Your fingers brush the wooden wall. Just above the blanket, you feel the grain of the wood, the way it dips slightly in places. The wall remembers hands older than yours. Winter's colder than this one. The fire pops once, and then settles, the last warmth of the night. You sink into it, and still, you breathe. Still, the dog snores. Still, the straw whispers against itself. Keeping secrets. The night will not remember this, but the straw will. You don't remember falling asleep. That's always the way of it. One moment, you're staring at a bit of shadow on the wall, trying to decide if it looks more like a fox or a ladle. The next, you're somewhere else entirely, not quite dreaming, not quite waking, a drifting space, warm and soft, like your body has forgotten it ever needed to be anything more than breath. But the straw remembers. It rustles softly beneath your shoulder as you shift, dreaming perhaps of a hillside in spring, or of your mother's bread rising too fast in the heat. Your feet find new corners of the blanket. Your hand brushes someone's elbow. The dog thumps once with his tail and returns to stillness. Outside, the snow falls heavier now. You don't hear it, but you feel the pressure, how the air has thickened, how the world has muffled itself further. It presses against the walls with soft authority. Even the wind has gone quiet, like it's waiting for something, or maybe it's listening. The fire has died down to embers, orange and steady, not enough to see by, but enough to remember warmth. Your father wakes briefly, stirs the coals with a practiced hand, then settles back with a grunt. You never speak during these midnight stirrings. They are too sacred, too in between, and still, sleep is not one long stretch. Not here, not in this century. You rise slightly in the dark, not out of discomfort, but because your body has remembered a pattern older than clocks. This is the space between first sleep and second. The waking hour, the breathing pause. It doesn't have a name, but it has a rhythm. You sit up, brush straw from your sleeves. Somewhere, water drips, a sound that feels endless. The hearth blows like memory. You pull your cloak tighter and stand for a moment, listening. There are stories told about this hour, that it's the time when saints whisper advice, or when foxes trade secrets with ghosts. You don't believe them, exactly, but you believe in the pause, in the silence that hums just enough to feel alive. You tiptoe toward the door, boots in hand, stepping carefully over limbs and blankets. You open the latch slowly, not all the way, just enough to breathe in the air beyond. The snow has transformed the world. The ground glows faintly with reflected light, and the sky is so cloud-thick it feels like it's pressing down on the village. You see the outlines of other roofs, quiet and crooked. A chimney exhales smoke like a sleepy giant. You think about old Tom, the man down the lane who says he hasn't slept through a full night in 20 years. He carves spoons by firelight, muttering to himself. He says the night has things to say. If you let it, you close the door again. Slowly, back to the hush. When you return to your bedding, Mara is awake. She doesn't speak, just looks at you with half a smile. Eyes soft with dreams not yet fully left behind. She scoots over slightly, and you crawl back under the blanket. There's a bit of straw in her sleeve. You pull it out and flick it into the fire. It curls and blackens, a quick twist of smoke. Second sleep comes easier. It's not as deep, maybe, but it's kinder. The fire still whispers. Your mother breathes slow and steady. The dog, impossibly, has wedged himself closer. You dream again. This time it's of walking barefoot across fields of straw, your feet never touching earth. The sky is made of bread crust and the sun wears a wimple. You laugh in your sleep, just once, and still, the cottage holds. It breathes, it waits. History will not write of this moment. Scholars won't know what shape your sister's breath makes when she's dreaming of goats. No one will catalog how the cold bites your toes or how the embers make shadow dances on the rafters. But the straw will remember. The straw always remembers. The wind has changed. You notice it before you open your eyes. It presses against the cottage walls in longer, slower breaths, not angry, just present, like an animal that's wandered too close. unsure whether to leave or stay. The roof creaks above you. You hear the slow settling of snow, and somewhere nearby, the faint shuffle of straw against wool. You blink. The fire has gone out completely. There's no warmth now, only memory, but memory holds surprisingly well in places like this. You sit up, slowly. Every joint protests. Your knees are tight, your back stiff, and there's a line on your cheek from the woven pattern of the blanket. Mara is still curled up, hugging her knees beneath her patched shawl. Her breath clouds briefly in the air, catching the dim morning light that leaks through the gaps in the shutter. Your father is already awake. You don't need to see him to know, he always wakes first. You hear him now, the faint tap of flint and steel. The low exhale as he coaxes the spark. Soon, a glow returns to the hearth. It's not fire yet, just the idea of fire. But it's enough. He taps the lintel 3 times with his fingers. Every morning, he says nothing, but you've watched him do it your entire life. Once, you asked why. He told you, to wake the house before it wakes me. You still don't know what he meant, but you've started doing it too. Your mother joins him, wordlessly, adding bark and twigs. She carries a bundle of straw in her apron. The same straw that will line the floor again before night falls. It rustles with her movement, a dry echo of yesterday. Outside, the frost glints like silver spread thin across the world. You remember what day it is, not because of the calendar, but because of the air. Today is the day of first washing, when the ice is thin enough to break and water can be drawn without waiting for midday sun. Your family takes turns. It's a ritual, like everything else. You don't talk much in the mornings, not out of grumpiness, but out of reverence, like church, but quieter. The way fire crackles is its own kind of sermon. You pull on your boots, still damp from yesterday, and wrap the wool scarf around your neck. Careful to cover your ears. Your sister once told you that dreams escape through ears if you leave them open to the cold. It's nonsense, but you do it anyway. You help your mother hang herbs in the rafters, dried lavender and yarrow bound with twine. She says they keep the house calm. Houses, she once whispered, have moods. Yours, you think, has been tired lately. But today, as the fire finally catches and warmth seeps into your fingers, it feels more awake, more alive. At the hearth, Mara yawns, then stretches like a cat. She doesn't speak, just walks over and presses her hand against the wall for a moment. Then nods. Another ritual, another mystery. The old stories come flooding back in the quiet, tales of straw charms and half spirits. Of dreams that ride in on the north wind and only leave when whispered into a bundle of kindling. You never believed in them. Not really, but now, with the cold sitting heavy in the air and the morning still clinging to shadows, you think, maybe there's truth in repetition. You glance at the hearth again. The flame is steady now. Not high, but sure, the kind of fire that listens more than it speaks. In your corner of the cottage, you find the little pouch your sister made last winter, a twist of straw tied with red thread and stuffed with rosemary. You keep it near your bedding, not for luck, but for the feeling it gives. A reminder, a weight in your hand that says, someone cared enough to make this. It's strange how much the body remembers. The bend of your knees as you kneel to add more straw to the sleeping space. The exact turn of your wrist as you check the edge of the shutter. The way your hands find the rhythm of folding a blanket without being told how. The cottage doesn't have clocks, but you still know what time it is. You know because the light shifts, because your father's breath grows longer, because the straw underfoot starts to feel lived in again. You eat a bowl of oats near the fire. The taste simple but steady. Outside, the frost begins to melt, and the path from the door to the well glistens like glass. Your mother hums a song that no one taught her. Just something she remembers hearing once. Long ago, you recognize it too, though no one ever says its name. When you step outside, the wind bites a little less. You walk to the woodpile, the straw-stuffed soles of your boots crunching against the frozen earth. Your breath moves in front of you like mist, but you don't chase it. You let it go. This is what a winter morning means in this place. Not grand plans, not declarations, just warmth kindled, straw refreshed, breath shared, and always, always, the house watching with quiet eyes. Sleep doesn't wear the same face through the year. It changes shape, color, rhythm. In the coldest months, it wraps around you like another layer of fur, heavy, undemanding, long, You sleep not because you are tired, but because the dark asks you to. Because the wind won't stop knocking, and there's nothing left to be done. The world itself seems to rest. And so, you do too. Winter sleep is a kind of surrender. You feel it in your bones before the first log hits the hearth. Everyone starts moving slower, and by the time the second bowl of stew is scraped clean, people are already folding into blankets, as if the weight of the night can't be ignored a moment longer. The straw is thicker now, renewed and layered high. Some of it still smells faintly of the late autumn sun. Most of it is musty from storage. You don't mind. You pile it up, find your favorite corner, and try not to poke yourself in the thigh with the sharper stalks. The fire's breath doesn't reach everyone equally, so you sleep close, too close sometimes, but no one complains. You feel someone else's toes brush yours, hear a cough in the dark, someone else's dream mumbling about sheep or stew or a god who keeps forgetting your name. These are the sounds of winter sleep. No one stirs unless the fire goes out, and if it does, someone, usually the oldest awake, creeps across the room to breathe it back to life. When spring returns, it creeps into the straw first. You wake one morning and notice the scent has changed. Less dust, more grass. The air feels different against your face, cool, but moving, and there are birds again. You forgot about birds. You forgot how they sing without waiting for permission. The straw is still there, but it holds you more loosely now. The layers thin, the wool blanket gets folded down at night, and then kicked off halfway through sleep. Sleep becomes curious in spring. You stir more easily. You wake before the sun fully rises. The old habit of segmented sleep returns. 2 rests, split by a quiet, wandering hour. You find yourself sitting up, scratching your arm, staring at the dim shape of the rafters. Sometimes, you think of work that needs doing. Sometimes, you just sit. You listen to the fire settling, to Mary's soft breathing, to the wind curling through a shadow crack like it's peeking in on a secret. You don't speak, you just exist. In summer, sleep turns wild. It comes late and leaves early, arriving only when the heat retreats and the walls finally stop holding in the sun. The straw is flattened, loose, sometimes even pushed aside. The hearth is cold, the doors are open, and the room is filled with insects, whispers, and half-finished dreams. You sweat, you toss, you crawl in one direction and then another, trying to find the cool side of the blanket, only to realize it hasn't been cool in weeks. You nap more in summer, in the shade, against the wall, even with your face pressed into the haystack if needed. You dream in short bursts, odd ones, with color and flashes and half-remembered nonsense. You don't talk about them. No one does, but you all wake up feeling like you've just been somewhere strange. Autumn sleep is tired, earned. Your body aches from gathering, storing, carrying, chopping. You collapse into sleep more than you enter it. It's the season of deep sighs and sudden naps. You find straw in your sleeves and in your hair and don't bother pulling it out. You've slept in stranger places this time of year. A wooden bench, a barn corner. Once, you dozed off leaning against a cow. She didn't seem to mind. In autumn, you begin to prepare the straw again, not just to lay it out, but to lay it thick, to check for damp spots, to add a bit of dried lavender if Mara remembers. You rotate the bundles, you fluff the corners, you mend the blankets. The fire becomes your companion again, not just your tool. Its crackle is a lullaby, its heat a reminder that the long nights are returning. Each season has its sound. Winter is muffled, the soft thud of snow off a branch, the occasional snap of ice. Spring is dripping, gutters, leaves, footsteps. Summer hums, flies, crickets, distant laughter. Autumn taps, wind on shutters, branches dropping walnuts onto the roof. You sleep through them all. In your way, even your position changes. In winter, you curl tight like a root. In summer, you sprawl and open like a book forgotten on a chair. In spring, you drift. In autumn, you collapse. Straw is constant. It doesn't judge your shape. It shifts with you. It remembers how to hold you. Elric once said straw has seasons too. How it feels different when it's cut in spring versus late fall. He's right. Spring straw is softer, but it molds too much. Autumn straw has backbone. It lasts longer. Sometimes, you think about how many seasons the straw beneath you has seen. How many bodies, how many sighs. You've replaced parts of it. Sure, but never all of it. Never entirely. It holds memory, and it smells different in every month. Mara has a habit. When the seasons turn, she braids a bit of straw and sets it in the windowsill. One braid for winter, one for spring, one for summer, one for autumn. They sit there like quiet markers of time past. No one ever asks her why. She never says, but when she forgets, you remember for her. Now it's autumn again. You've pulled the cloak from storage. You've laid the straw thick again. And tonight, as you lie down, you feel the shift, not in your body, in the house. The walls settle deeper. The rafters creak with a different note. Even the dog seems to curl tighter. The air smells of apples and smoke and wool. You breathe in once, then twice, and sleep takes you again. The way it always does. The morning doesn't arrive with trumpet fanfare or a blaze of golden light. It seeps in, slow, gray, uncertain, like someone cracking open a door to peek quietly inside. You're not even sure what wakes you. Not a sound exactly, but the absence of one. The fire has gone still. The dog no longer snores. And the breath of the house, which last night rose and fell like a tide, now hovers in silence. Your eyes open to the thatched ceiling, a patchwork of wood and straw with spider webs drawn like delicate lace. It takes a moment to remember where you are, not because you've forgotten, but because your dreams still linger, fogged around the edges of your thoughts. You lie still for a beat longer, letting them drift. Someone was chasing a fox in a field of snow. Someone else, maybe Mara, was arguing with a goose wearing the crown. You're not sure which one was you. Eventually, you stretch your limbs, one at a time. Your knees crack softly. Your back complains. The wool blanket slips down your shoulder, and a breath of cold air kisses your collarbone. Winter hasn't left. It just stepped outside for a moment. Across the room, someone is already up. You hear the rustle of fabric, the hush of feet brushing straw. A pot clings. It's your mother, of course. She's always first. You smell the warmth before you see it. Herbs in the cooking pot. Something rooty and sharp. Maybe parsnip, maybe old onion. It doesn't matter. It means breakfast is beginning. You sit up slowly, letting the blanket fall. The floor is icy against your feet, and you curse the first person to ever invent mornings. Still, you move. The straw shifts under you. Sighing in protest, you think, not for the first time, that the straw probably knows you better than anyone. It's cradled your weight 100 nights. It's heard your whispers and caught your tears. It's kept secrets. You tiptoe toward the hearth, where your mother now crouches. Her hair is tied back with a strip of linen, and the lines around her eyes look deeper in the pale morning light. She doesn't speak, but her glance is soft, and that's enough. Mara is still curled in her corner, a nest of limbs and straw. One eye peeks open, catches you watching, and shuts again. 5 more minutes, she mutters. You chuckle and nudge her with your foot as you pass. You reach for a log and add it to the embers. It's not a fire yet, just a glow, but you know how to coax it. You blow gently, the way your father showed you, just enough to stir the coals without waking the ashes. The log catches slowly, a flicker, then a curl of orange. It will do. The warmth spreads like a secret, not fast, not wide, but enough to reach your fingertips. You hold your hands near and watch the flames twist and dance. They move like they have somewhere to be. You don't. Your father appears, rubbing sleep from his eyes with the back of his hand. He grunts, a sound that could mean good morning or bad dreams or both. He pats your shoulder once, then begins looking for his boots. You point to the corner where the dog has claimed them as a pillow. Your father sighs. The dog does not move. Breakfast is simple, porridge thick enough to stand a spoon in. You eat it from a shared wooden bowl, passing it between you with no words, just nods. It's warm, and that's what counts. Mara finally sits up and takes her turn, hair sticking up like a thistle bush. You offer her your sleeve to wipe her mouth, and she glares at you, but uses it anyway. The cottage begins to shift from sleep to day. Blankets are folded, boots are laced. Your father adjusts the shutter, letting in a wedge of white morning light. It hits the far wall and makes the dust sparkle like snow. You notice the spider has repaired its web. Good for it. Outside, the snow has not melted, but it looks less cruel in daylight. The wind still hisses, but now it sounds like a whisper instead of a warning. The village stirs, too. Smoke from chimneys, a distant call. Somewhere, a rooster sings with more confidence than talent. You pull on your tunic, still a little damp from yesterday, and lace it up. Your fingers are stiff, your sleeves itch, but once it's on, you feel more like yourself. Like someone who knows what to do next. Your sister hums as she braids her hair. It's a silly tune. You join in under your breath. Even your father cracks a smile. The chores are waiting. They always are. Water from the well, wood to split, goats to feed. The world won't pause just because you're tired. But for now, you linger. You reach down, gather a handful of straw, and fluff the bedding you slept on. It's a small thing, a useless gesture, but you do it anyway. Like folding a page in a book you'll return to later. And maybe, just maybe, tonight the straw will feel warmer because of it. You stand at the doorway. Your breath fogs the air. Your sister joins you, shoulder to shoulder. Behind you, the hearth glows. In front of you, the snow waits. The day has begun. And so, with one last breath of warmth behind you, you open the door and step out into the winter. The wind sharpens by midday. No longer the gentle sigh of night, but a bolder breath slicing across rooftops and rattling at loose shutters. You're outside now, your feet finding purchase on frost-hardened ground, each step echoing in the brittle quiet of a sleeping village. A wooden bucket swings from one hand, sloshing faintly, its weight familiar. You move slowly, not from fatigue, but from rhythm. Everything in winter slows, shifts into a different pace, like breath in cold air, more deliberate, more visible. The well isn't far, it never is, but the journey feels long because your senses reach further in winter. You hear the rustle of a thatch roof adjusting under the sun's distant weight. The snap of twigs under the hooves of a goat you can't see but know is there. Your boots squeak in snow, and each exhale leaves a ghost behind you. The rope at the well creaks when you pull, dry and strained, and for a moment, it feels like you're drawing not just water, but time itself, heavy, reluctant, buried deep. Inside again, the air feels heavier from the contrast. The fire is down to coals, but the room is still warmer than the sky. The straw underfoot rustles as you cross the room, its texture more pronounced when your fingers are numb. Mare is near the window, patching a tear in her tunic with thread so fine it might as well be spun frost. Your mother has begun sorting dried herbs into bundles. She doesn't need to, not urgently, but her hands know the motions, and the scent of thyme and rosemary fills the air with something like memory. There's a strange comfort in doing things that don't need doing, the kind of tasks that only exist in winter. Tightening a cord, mending a blanket you won't use until next year, stirring the embers. Each action says, I'm still here, I'm still moving, the cold hasn't taken me yet. You eat quietly. Root soup thickened with barley and something tangy that your father found in the cellar. It's not special, but it's warm. It coats the inside of your mouth, lingers behind your teeth. No one talks much during lunch in winter. Talking takes breath, and breath is precious. Instead, you watch the flame in the hearth and listen for the sound of snow slipping from the roof. A thud, a hiss, the world outside shedding a layer. Afterward, you sweep the floor, not out of cleanliness, but to refluff the straw, to lift the impressions of the morning's footsteps and give them somewhere to go. You pause when you find a single white feather tucked near the wall. Not a bird's feather, a memory's. It reminds you of last winter, of the morning your sister didn't wake easily, and your mother scattered dried lavender around the room as if scent could stir sleep. Maybe it did, or maybe it was the singing. You don't remember who started it, but you remember how it felt, like warmth, in a different shape. Your father returns with kindling. He doesn't speak, just sets it down and nods toward the sky, gray. Always gray. You check the cracks in the doorframe and wedge a piece of VD5 braided straw into one. Not because you think it matters, but because someone always has. The ritual is older than explanation. Evening comes early, it always does now. Shadows slip through the room like cats you never invited, curling into corners, settling in folds of fabric. The candle is lit before you realize it's dark. Its flame dances like it knows something you don't. Maybe it does. Maybe it remembers the nights when this room held laughter, music, guests, or maybe it just remembers yesterday. Maybe that's enough. You sit near the fire, hands outstretched, palms up, not asking, just receiving. The heat barely reaches, but the act matters. You hear your name spoken softly behind you. Mara, asking if you saw the footprints near the co-op. You didn't. You say so. She shrugs and returns to sewing. But your thoughts wander. Could be a fox, could be something else, something nameless that only visits when the moon is hidden. The candle gutters once, a brief warning. You lean forward, shielding it with your hand. The flame steadies, your reflection stares back from the window. For a second, you think it's someone else, a future self, or a version of you that stayed behind on another cold morning and never caught up. But the image vanishes when the wind taps the pane and the glass shivers. You wrap the extra blanket around your shoulders. The weight feels good, like being noticed. Dinner is smaller, just bread and broth, enough. The fire is slower now. Lower, but still alive. It waits, like you do, for the long hush of sleep to begin its approach. You think of the straw again, how it knows your body better than you do. How it molds and shifts and breathes with you. It's just brass, and yet, it holds the imprint of 100 nights, of dreams you'll never recall, of sighs and soft laughter and tears that dried before they fell. Before bed, you tap the lintel 3 times, not because you believe it does anything, but because not doing it would feel unfinished. The room dims, the others shuffle toward their places. The dog is already curled in the warmest spot. You settle down slowly, feeling the cold in your joints now. Not just your skin, but the straw is kind. It accepts you. The blanket whispers over your shoulder, and the weight of it presses away the worry. You think about spring, just for a second, about how the air will taste different, about how the chickens will run further, about how the fire won't need feeding. But not yet, not tonight. Tonight is still winter, still quiet, still full of the kind of rest that only comes when the world outside is too cold to invite in. You close your eyes. The last thing you hear is the straw shifting beneath you, not loudly, not urgently, just gently, like it's settling in too, like it's ready to remember this moment for you. Night has deepened into something quiet and whole. The village no longer whispers, it simply waits, and within the thick walls of your cottage, your body sinks deeper into straw and sleep, but your mind lingers for just a moment longer. There's something about this hour, the in-between, where thoughts rise like mist from the fields. You don't speak them aloud, you let them drift, slowly, like smoke curling from the last ember. But sleep doesn't come all at once. Not yet. You shift beneath the blankets, feeling the weight of warmth where your sister's elbow rests against your back, where the dog's soft breath fans against your leg. You're not uncomfortable, you're simply aware of your body, of the creaks in the rafters, of the cold tickling through the floorboards, aware of being alive in the middle of a night so silent it feels sacred. Somewhere across the room, your father turns in his sleep and lets out a low breath. Not a snore, but a release, like he's finally given something up to the dark. Your mother murmurs once, her lips moving with words meant for dreams. Not you, and still, you stay awake. The moon is up, though you can't see it directly. Its light spills in through a gap between the shutters, silvering the beam above your head, catching the threads of straw sticking from the blanket. It paints the room not with clarity but with hush. It doesn't want you to move, it wants you to notice. So you do. You notice the way the straw near your hand still smells faintly of summer. How a scrap of blue thread, Mary's, probably, has caught in the weave and now glows softly like a forgotten star. You trace your fingers through it. You don't want to sleep just yet. You remember what your grandfather once said, that if you stay awake just long enough between the two halves of sleep, you might catch the world telling its secrets, that ideas and truths, the ones we're not ready to understand by daylight, gather here in the second dark. Maybe that's why so many villagers rise in the middle of the night without quite knowing why. So you let your eyes adjust, let your thoughts wander. You count the breaths around you. 6, 7, if you include the dog. You press your toes against the blanket, feel the slow rhythm of sleep brushing past you, tempting you to surrender. There's something about this moment, something more than sleep. It feels like memory, like the walls themselves are remembering you. The way your head fits into this exact dip in the mattress. The way you always curl to the left. The straw beneath you shifts, almost imperceptibly. It doesn't push back, it simply makes room. Outside, the wind rises and falls like a wave cresting through empty trees. It rattles something loose on the shed, but you don't worry. If it breaks, it breaks. You'll fix it in the morning. That's how winter works. It takes, then waits to be mended. You lie there, halfway between sleep and waking, and feel time slow down. You think of other nights like this one, of Mary's laugh echoing under summer stars, of the way your father once carried you in from the barn. His arms strong, his hands rough but steady, of your mother sitting near the fire, threading a needle in the dark, whispering words into the air not meant for anyone in particular. The fire is nearly out now. It glows like a memory more than a flame, but you don't stir. You've learned that warmth isn't only heat, it's proximity. To the ones you love, to the rituals you repeat without thinking, to the straw under your body that has caught more moments than you ever could. Your hand drifts toward your sister's back, rests there gently. She shifts, but doesn't wake. It's enough. And then, slowly, as though the night has finally decided to accept your presence, you begin to slip. The thoughts unravel, the breath deepens, the muscles unwind. You don't notice when you pass into the next world. You just stop noticing the one you're in. You dream, not of places or people, but of warmth, of stillness, of straw pressed close and the sound of your mother humming even when she's not there. You dream in texture, in silence, in shared space, and when morning comes, and it will, you won't remember this exact moment. But your body will, the way the air felt against your cheek, the way the blanket clung, the way the darkness wrapped you not in fear, but in trust, because this is what winter sleep gives, not just rest, but assurance. You are here, you are warm, you are not alone. When you finally wake, it's not because of a sound, it's because of a shift, a subtle movement in the air, the kind that only makes itself known by what's no longer there, the deepest hush. The fire, for example, is now ash. The heat is not gone, but hiding, curled in the coals like a secret waiting to be coaxed back. Your fingers twitch against the blanket, and they know, the night has passed. You don't open your eyes immediately. There's something sacred in these first few seconds. You feel the weight of your sister's legs still tossed over yours. The dog has moved, somehow finding the warmest part of the room again. You know the others are still asleep by the even rise and fall of breath that surrounds you. The straw beneath you has flattened beneath the night's stillness, but it shifts slightly as you adjust your hips, letting out a soft sigh as though it too is waking. There's no rush, not yet. Eventually, your eyes blink open. The world is still dim. Blue-gray light seeps through the shutter cracks. It's not dawn yet, not fully, but the darkness has changed. It's the kind of morning that doesn't rise, it unfolds. Slowly, like a letter someone is too gentle to tear. You push off your blanket and shiver at the bite of cold on your skin. The warmth you built overnight is already pulling back, like a tide you can't stop. The floor beneath your feet is cold stone, and the first step always feels like a dare. Still, you take it. The straw crackles, slightly damp from the breath of night. You move carefully across the room, not wanting to wake anyone, but the house knows you're up. By the hearth, you kneel and stir the ashes. A little breath, a few chips of bark, a twist of straw. You've done this so often it's become a kind of language between you and the fire. It answers, eventually, sending a thin line of smoke up like a signal. You whisper a thanks, more habit than prayer, and wait until the first flame licks the log. The room begins to shift. Shadows dance higher. Your breath no longer smokes. Behind you, there's movement. Your mother sits up, silent, eyes still adjusting. She doesn't speak, just nods, the kind of nod that says, yes. Morning, yes. We begin again. You hand her the kettle, already filled last night. She adds it to the fire without a word. Soon, the cottage begins to stretch. Your father rises, rubbing sleep from his face like a man chasing off fog. He touches the wall once, he always does, then begins lacing his boots. Mara groans softly, curls into herself, then sits up with a huff. She has straw in her hair and a pillow crease on her cheek. And yet somehow looks like she's always belonged to this moment. You toss her an old wool scarf. She catches it, half asleep, and wraps it twice around her neck. Breakfast is not a meal. It is a rhythm. The oats are thick, the water's slightly smoky from the fire. A pinch of salt, a bit of dried fruit. If you're lucky, everyone eats with slow hands, not because they're tired, but because they are remembering how to be awake. The dog gets the last spoonful. He earns it. Outside, the frost clings to the grass like lace. The village is still mostly sleeping, though a rooster has begun his declarations. You can hear a door creak somewhere. A bucket knock, the language of a day beginning, one sound at a time. And still, there's no conversation. Words come slowly in this household. Your mother hums, faintly, the same tune she always uses when mending clothes or stirring soup. You don't know its name. You never asked. It's one of those melodies that seems older than memory. Stitched into mornings like thread through linen. You dress in layers, tunic, cloak, wool socks pulled to your knees. Mare is already slipping on her boots, one patched 3 times. She grabs a basket from the corner. Already knows today is for kindling. Your father is checking the leather on his gloves. His eyes scan the ceiling, the corners, the door. A man rehearsing a checklist that's never written down but always remembered. Before you step outside, you pause. You always do. It's not just for warmth. It's for recognition that you are leaving something behind, a room that held your sleep. Your breath, your dreaming. You touch the edge of the doorframe. Not every morning, just when it feels right. Outside, the sky is pale. The frost cracks underfoot. You walk toward the co-op. Feed bucket swinging in one hand. Your sister hums now, too, though it doesn't match your mother's tune. The chickens are quiet at first, then greedy. Life begins fast when you're feathered. You return to the cottage as the light grows. It spills through the cracks now, golden instead of gray. Inside, your mother has swept the floor, but not perfectly. The straw is still scattered, still living in the corners. She doesn't mind, neither do you. It's not dirt, it's memory. It's comfort. You sit again, just briefly, near the fire. The flame is stronger now. The warmth reaches your cheeks. You pick a bit of straw from your sleeve and set it gently on the mantel. You don't say anything. No one asks why, but your sister sees and is the same. This is not tradition. It's not even habit. It's care. Care for the straw that held your dreams, for the morning that held your breath, for the quiet that will return again tonight. By now, you know the house better than anyone could describe it. You could trace it blindfolded, the knot in the floorboard near the hearth, the frayed edge of the wool rug, the way the door leans just a little to the right when you close it. But the house isn't the only thing learning you. The straw, too, seems to know your shape, the weight of you, the rhythm of your steps. It gives a little more easily when you sit down now. It rustles with more softness. Or maybe you've just learned how to listen better. It's late in the season. The kind of late that doesn't announce itself with grand gestures, but in tiny, unmistakable signs. Your mother has started checking the shelves with greater frequency, measuring how far the grain might stretch. Your father spends more time sharpening tools than using them. Mara hums less and listens more, as though she's waiting for a note she once heard but can't quite remember. You've begun waking earlier, not out of duty. There's no rooster pressuring you. Not yet, but out of a kind of internal readiness. You hear the world stretch. You feel the walls breathe. And you notice the light shift from gray to pale gold a little sooner than before. This morning, your fingers close around something smooth in the straw. You expect a pebble, maybe a dropped spoon, but it's neither. It's a twist of blue thread, knotted 3 times. You don't remember placing it there. No one else says they did. Mara only shrugs, a smile tugging at one side of her mouth. Maybe it's a thank you. She says, from the straw. Later, you find another gift, a feather tucked into your boot, cleaner than it should be. Its edge is intact, not caught by accident, placed. It smells faintly of lavender and ash. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't need to. It's the kind of gift only the house gives. Or maybe the night. Your father doesn't believe in charms, but he still wraps twine around the axe handle before storing it. Your mother doesn't say prayers, but she lays herbs in the water before scrubbing the floor. Your sister doesn't claim visions, but she always leaves one small portion of the straw unmoved before sleep. These are not superstitions, they're courtesies, a kind of thank you said without words. Even the animals have their rituals. The dog waits near the hearth until the second log is added before curling up. The chickens peck at the same corner of the yard every morning. Though nothing has grown there in years, the goats chew and pause in rhythm, as though listening for a signal. And you've begun keeping a record. Not with parchment or ink. You don't need those. You press your memories into the straw. A knot here, a tucked ribbon there, a pebble turned on its side. You leave markers the way travelers leave stones on paths. So someone, someday, might know you passed through and paid attention. One night, Mara asks if you remember the story about the doll made of straw that changed its face with the seasons. You don't, not really, but you say yes. She's quiet for a moment, then says, I think the house does that too. I think it's always changing for us. She's not wrong. The house no longer groans under your weight. It sighs. The wind through the rafters no longer moans, it sings. Just barely. The fire doesn't resist the match as much. Even the shadows don't feel as long. At dusk, your mother places a small bowl of oats near the hearth. It's not a meal, not even a snack. It's an offering, though no one says so aloud. You all know, and the next morning, the bowl is empty, though no one saw who took it. No one needed to. Not everything wants witnesses. You've begun to look forward to the quiet gifts. A folded cloth that smells of sun. A stick shaped like a crescent moon. A piece of straw braided so tightly it holds the curve of your finger when touched. Nothing grand, nothing loud, just proof that someone, or something, was listening. One evening, as frost creeps up the window and the moon glows yellow like melted butter, you slip a string of your own into the thatch above your bed. It's not a charm, it's not protection, it's just a thread from your tunic, worn from worry and use. You tuck it gently where the wall meets the roof and say nothing. But you think, thank you. Thank you for the warmth when it wasn't earned. Thank you for the hush that never asked for words. Thank you for catching my weight every night without complaint. Outside, the snow begins again, soft, unhurried, indifferent, but inside, something feels held. Tomorrow, you'll stack wood, or scrub pots, or mend something that doesn't want to be mended. But tonight, you're allowed to sleep, not as a task, as a gift, and the straw waits, not because it has to, because it wants to. Sleep comes that night like honey poured too slowly, thick, golden, patient. You don't remember when your eyes close, only that the breath leaves your lips softer, that your fingers loosen in the straw, that the weight in your chest drips down into the mattress until it spreads into the floor. You are still, and in that stillness, something shifts. You dream. It's not like other dreams. It's not absurd, not wild, not full of flying animals or nonsense staircases. It's quiet, so quiet that you feel it before you see it. There's light, not from a fire, not from a candle, but something paler, more ancient. It glows like the inside of an eggshell held to the sun. You're walking, barefoot, but your feet don't mind. The ground is straw, all of it, endless, not a field, but a tapestry of golden threads that hum beneath your soles. There are no walls, but you know it's a room. You know because it feels contained, like someone's cupped hands around a tiny animal. Safe, a shape waits ahead. You know it's someone, but their features shift like ink in water. They're not frightening, they're familiar. They could be your mother, or your sister, or the old baker who gave you apples last harvest. You don't ask, you just listen. They say nothing, but you hear everything. You hear the laughter from the first time you shared a blanket with Mara after she had a nightmare. You hear the creak of the cupboard you opened when no one was looking, just to see if the candies from last Yule were still hidden. You hear your father's boots by the door, your mother's hum, the fire, breathing. The figure nods, once, and then steps aside. Behind them is a braid of straw, long, knotted, worn, hanging from a wooden beam that doesn't exist. You reach out to touch it, and when your fingers graze the fibers, they twitch. They remember, not as an object remembers, as a witness does. You see the harvest, the threshing, the laughter of children rolling in straw piles. You feel the ache in your shoulders from dragging bales across frozen ground. You smell the fields just after rain, hear the prayers muttered into the soil, feel the bite of winter at your neck and the weight of a child's head on your lap as she sleeps. The straw contains it all. And then, it's morning. Not the waking kind that startles, the kind that rises, a tide of light, a whisper through the thatch. You open your eyes, and the ceiling is just as it always was. The dog is snoring at your feet. Mara mumbles something into her pillow and turns over. The fire is ashen memory. But something has changed, not in the room, in you. You rise without stiffness. The cold kisses your skin but does not grip. You stretch, slowly, reverently, as if each joint is saying a small, private thank you. You notice something as you smooth the straw. A feather. No one's, everyone's. It's gray, with a single dark stripe down its center. You don't remember it being there last night. But you're not surprised. You pick it up and slide it behind the beam above your bed. It doesn't feel like decoration. It feels like punctuation. Downstairs, your mother is already stirring porridge. Your father opens the door, and the cold rushes in like an eager child. Merid tosses you a lopsided smile before wrapping a cloak around her shoulders and disappearing outside. The dog stretches, the house breathes. You move to the window and trace a finger through the frost gathering in its corners. The sun hasn't quite broken the edge of the hill, but the sky is warming. You step outside, just for a moment. The air tastes like ice and firewood and hope. The snow crunches beneath your feet, but it doesn't sink. You walk to the edge of the yard and look down the path, already trampled with the footprints of chickens. Goats, people you love. There, in the corner, you see a new bundle of straw, knotted loosely, tucked beside the fence post. No one says a word about it at breakfast. No one asks, but everyone glances toward it once, like you all heard the same whisper. The day unfolds. You carry water, you mend a strap, you watch the sky shift. You find yourself pressing the back of your hand into the wall, as if asking it to remember you too. The straw still clings to your sleeves, to your boots, to your breath, and as evening nears, and the fire grows again from last night's coals, you prepare for sleep not as duty but as ritual, as return. Tonight, you add a twist of rosemary to your pillow, not for scent, for meaning, and you whisper, not a wish, but a sentence, one that makes no sense, one that feels entirely necessary. Then you lie down, and as the blanket settles over your chest, and the fire lowers its voice, and the dog circles one last time before sleep, you feel the dream waiting, not behind you, beneath you, in the straw, always in the straw. Thank you for staying with me until the very last breath of this story. Now, take one more deep breath, soften your shoulders, and close your eyes. Let the warmth you gathered tonight carry you into the gentlest sleep. The night is quiet, the straw remembers, you're home.